So I was really asking the audience to think about the purpose of school. Why do we send our kids to school? And when in any country, we have to ask the question what the purpose of our schooling is, because for hundreds of years we've sent our kids to school and don't really ask that question. And I think if you're thinking about the future of Croatia, for example, you need to have an idea of what that's going to be, and therefore what the purpose of your school is, because at the moment it appears that the purpose of school seems to be content transmission and testing, and that probably isn't going to output the kind of creative innovators that Croatia needs. There's a constant tension within the education systems, and this is a tension that isn't a new one. It's been going on, hundreds of years, in fact. John Dewey in 1902 wrote a book called The Child and the Curriculum that had the same tension, the same argument about, is education about subject knowledge and content knowledge, or is it about self-realization of the child, learning for the fun of learning, as opposed to learning because you had to get through some tests. And that's been a constant tension, as it is today, and more so in a way because we're beginning to use technology in a way that reinforces the former, the idea that education is about mastery of content, of subject knowledge, and then regurgitating it at an examination. The reality, of course, is that we need both. We need to have some content knowledge, subject knowledge to do things, and what we're really interested in, competencies. So here we're having an interview. The competence that we want of the person operating the camera is that they can operate a camera, not that they have a certificate in it or they've read the most books, because the winner of the Nobel Prize isn't the person that read the most books. It's about their competencies. So my point is rather than having an education system which has been industrialized around content and testing, why not have one that's based around solving problems, working together, collaborating? We talk about the future and the skills needed as creativity and collaboration and critical thinking, but nothing in our school systems or examination systems work towards that goal. So we have to decide which one that we want. To put it another way, when I've hired software engineers, and I've hired a lot of them, I'm more interested in their ability to code than whether they've got a PhD from a good university. The reason for traveling, and I traveled extensively, from rural India to refugee camps, so in active conflict zones, active crisis zones up mountains in China after an earthquake, and so forth, but also into some schools in San Diego, for example, in Lebanon, and so forth. And what I found in actually all of the schools that I visited, because it was selective, it was not quantitative research, it was qualitative research, was that the environment was important, the engagement between the teacher and the student was important. When I come back to the environment based around collaboration. At the moment, a lot of classrooms still look very much as they did 100 or more years ago, kids in rows and so forth. They don't really actively promote collaboration, so the environment was super important. And that was also reflected in the teacher engagement, because I think we were beginning to see, certainly we're seeing from Silicon Valley organizations and so forth, there's a belief that teaching is just merely a content delivery system. I deliver the content to the student and then I test the student. And so we could get rid of the teacher or de-skill the teacher. But nothing could be further from the truth, of course, because teaching isn't simply about providing content. It's about understanding the individual. We're nurturing human beings. So I've seen great practice pretty much everywhere that I've been when I created the book. The problem, the challenge for all of these schools, all of these practitioners, all these great schools, and regardless of where they were, was they come up against the 19th century examination system, which really tests things that are less valuable. As a result, we teach maths, for example, like it's a dead language. In fact, maths is really fun. I only discovered after I left school that maths is really fun, because maths is about discovery. It's not the way that we teach it at school because of the way we measure. So I've seen there's lots of good practice. I don't think you can scale good practice in the sense of, if you've got a great school, you can measure it and then roll it out like a piece of software, because that's not how it works. It's a bit like your favorite restaurant that you go to. If there's an attempt to scale that restaurant, it would become McDonald's. And who wants their children to have the McDonald's of education? I mean, it's, you know, maybe not as bad as some other forms of education, but still, the point remains the same. So I think that practice that I have seen, which is more project-based, de-siloed, so rather than having subjects, you know, maths, physics, Spanish, etc., removing those silos and increasing the number of common areas and the way that students work together across age groups rather than being streamed by the year of manufacture, which just strikes me as bizarre. It doesn't happen anywhere else in any other part of the world, but in school, you're only with kids that the only thing you've got in common with them is they were born in the same year. This is crazy. I think the technology debate in education has become very confused. Certainly 30 years ago, when I first started getting involved in educational technology, I almost had a messianic belief in its ability to transform learning, making it much more interesting, more engaging, and dissolve those silos between subjects, which are artificial. But what's happened in the intervening years, and certainly most recently, and we're seeing a phenomenal investment going into educational technology right now, some real big investments. But these investments are in using technology to maintain and industrialize 19th century practice. It's as if we agreed that the purpose of education was simply content distribution and testing. And therefore we don't really need skilled teachers. We could actually offload that to technology. In my opinion, that's wrong. I think there's much more to teaching and learning than that. And I think we should allow much more freedom in the way that technology is used in the classroom, and we should be able to use technology to amplify our ability to learn and our ability to teach, rather than effectively imprison us. I mean, for example, in testing, in examinations, in 2016, why are students not allowed to take their computer connected to the internet into the examination room? Why are they not allowed to share their answers with their colleagues? Why are they not allowed to phone their mother or find a subject specialist? You know, why do we suddenly pretend that the 21st century never happened when a child enters the examination room? So my belief is that technology can have a profound, I'm still optimistic, that technology can have profound impact, positive impact on the way that we teach, the way that we learn, the way that we solve problems. We're just not doing that at the moment. We're doing the reverse. I think the worst part of this conference is this horrible, awful country and this terrible scenery. What do I think of porridge? You know what, I sent photographs to my wife back in England, and she now officially hates me, unless I bring her out here. No, I think, seriously, it's quite clearly a very beautiful part of the world. And actually, the drive from the capital to here was also awesome. I mean, you know, obviously being here with the sea and everything else is wonderful, but you know, the whole country looks beautiful. It has this amazing architecture, rolling hills and fields and so forth. I mean, what an amazing place to work. I mean, in terms of not only retaining talent, but also attracting it. I mean, who wouldn't want to live here and work? I mean, it's just a wonderful place. And the people that I've met have all been friendly. I mean, even those outside the conference. So I don't think people are faking it. So I think I feel very fortunate to be here. You're going to see a lot of me.